Hey guys, it's Michelle from Tennis World. We are at the BNP Paribas Open with Sabrina Santamaria, pro extraordinaire player, doubles specialist, as well as Eric from TOROLINE. Thanks you guys for joining me.
Thank you
Thanks for having us.
And today we are going to talk all about Sabrina's setup, which she has recently changed into some new strings. And we've been talking a lot about strings out here in the desert with the pros. And I know, Eric, you worked very closely with Sabrina to make sure she's playing with exactly what she needed. And I'm so excited to hear about this. So Sabrina, can you start us off by talking about your racket, what you were using and what you wanted to change?
Yeah, so I switched over to Dunlop about 2 years ago. I was previously using Vocal, and I just felt like I needed a change, just wanted to change things up. Tried out a bunch of rackets and really fell in love with my Dunlop CX400 Tour. I felt like the racket really gave me control with power, especially as like my playing style. I'm very aggressive from the baseline, but I also aggressive at the net. So I felt like this racket really complemented my playing style. So played with this racket for a good year and a half, and then last year during off season, I really wanted to ramp up my stringing and just try a bunch of different combos, try a thinner gauge. I was just really wanting to play around with my setup. And I've known Eric for a while, and he has been a tremendous part in my stringing journey. During off season, he was at nearly every practice, coming up with different combos and just trying out all different types of string, literally so many combos. I couldn't even tell you the number. Do you know the number?
Dozen, probably, yeah.
Right?
At least a dozen,
At least a dozen.
My hands were getting tired.
Yeah.
So, that was our Uber for stringing.
Yeah, I like that.
Excellent service, 10 out of 10, highly recommend.
5 stars, thank you.
5 stars.
Business.
5-star Uber rating, and then just came up with, I'll backtrack. So in December, this wasn't released yet. So my string wasn't released, but I just fell in love with it. I was like, Eric, I have to have it. Can you please let me play with it? Even though it's not released yet. So yeah, and here we are. I had a great start to the 2025 season, made the finals in Auckland, second round Aussie Open, and then semis of a 125K a couple weeks ago, and quarterfinals Merida last week. So it's been a good start to the year.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's definitely helped with my string setup.
That's awesome. So Eric, maybe you can start us from the beginning, because I feel like you probably remember. What did you first give Sabrina to try?
Yeah, so I actually had one of her rackets. So it's something I'm pretty familiar with. It's not my personal racket of choice, but I think when you're working with a pro player, you really gotta basically live in their shoes.
Yeah.
Test a racket, ask them what tension they use, because she uses, I think, 40 pounds.
40 pounds, yeah.
Which is
Super
pretty
low.
low.
Pretty low.
Not my normal tension. But yeah, we tried a ton of co-poly hybrids, super Toro mains, caviar on the cross, caviar in a thicker gauge, thinner gauge. Played with the different tensions, because I think you're using a pretty thick gauge, a little more muted string. So yeah, definitely, and I think it was round as well. So now it's a hexagonal shape, 1.23 millimeter, string.
Yeah.
It's actually co-developed with Steve Johnson, another, USC
Trojan, right on.
which is, keep in the family. But yeah, I like to be super collaborative with all the pros that we work with, because there's a lot riding on the line. We care deeply about their success on the court. So really got to live their shoes, right? So try all the different combos, filter out, even though it was a dozen combos that she did try, we try to filter out as much as possible to see what works with the racket, because some rackets are more string sensitive than other rackets, right? So got to see what works. We actually really wanted her to use a Tennis Warehouse exclusive orange, because I thought it really color matched this racket.
It would have matched. Come on,
But
Sabrina. Take one for the team.
We also want the player to be super connected to what they use, right?
Yeah.
And I think, the white is a little more crisp, so I think it works. It's a little more suited for low tension. I think too, there's a better contrast between the ball and the string bed versus the neon colors. I can't see it, my hands are not that fast, but a lot of the pro players that are using the white Toro, they say that they can see the ball better behind the string bed. So I think they appreciate that. But at the end of the day, it's what the player wants, right? We didn't have this string back in December, but she told me she loved it. I tried to get her on all the neon colors that TOROLINE's famous for.
That's what I was gonna say.
But I was like, all right, let's just run production. And yeah, now you can get at the Tennis Warehouse 10 at Indian Wells. It's ready. You can get it on tenniswarehouse.com as well, or tenniswarehouse.europe.com.
Yep.
And yeah, it's become a fan favorite. We just didn't have that many neutral colored strings All our strings are pretty loud colors, so I do feel like it feeds like a need in the market. But yeah, it's a super fun string to play with.
Well, Sabrina, you do have an aesthetic, so I could see like you going with like a more simple white,
Neutral,
not like really
minimalistic.
bright in your face. But tell me what we can expect from this string. We just watched your practice, and for anyone that hasn't watched you, you have such a great combination of, like you were mentioning, you hit big from the baseline, but you did it a few times where you just like stop the pace of the ball and somehow it floats inside the lines, and
Yeah.
you can tell that you just have tons of touch and control with this.
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's the main reason why I really fell in love with this string, because it's super durable, it gives me a lot of control while sustaining power, and that was like the perfect mix for me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really fell in love with this string. And yeah, like I said, like it gives me power on my forehands, I can lob with it. And that was the other thing we were talking about during off season, is difference with my lobs, especially like my topspin lobs.
Signature lob.
My signature
Yeah,
lob, the
that's the
Sabs
shot.
lob.
Yeah.
It just bites a little bit more. I think,
Yeah.
I think the hex helps with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, just it's just a little more bite. You know, before I use a round string, so you don't really get that edge from the string. But this one, it's got sharp edges,
Yeah.
and I think hex too is like really good for snapback and spin, because if you just look at the shape of it, you have one of the edges on the mains touching one of the edges on the cross.
Okay.
And this string, it doesn't deform as much like maybe like a softer string, so you
Right.
just basically have two little edges touching, and that's what, you know, you have less like surface area contact, and that's what the translates to more snapback, more spin,
Yeah.
basically creating a slingshot effect for the ball.
Nice.
Yeah.
How often are you restringing your racket of choice?
So I feel like this string is super durable.
Okay.
I don't know if it's also my combo of like a lower tension maybe, but I actually don't break string as often. It also could be because I'm a doubles player and I only cover half the court, so I'm not playing as many points as a singles player. But I generally like to start a match with a fresh racket. I would maybe go like a match and a practice with that racket, get a new string job for the next match type of thing. I'm generally like a new racket match player.
Right, I get that.
For practice, I'm not too finicky with like, okay, it needs to be a fresh, you know, I'll usually keep a racket for like a week or so and then restring it, or depending on where I am in the world and, you
If you're
know.
in LA, you know.
If I'm in LA, I got my stringer,
You got
yeah.
your
You got
Uber
me.
string.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. Anything else we need to know about Toro white?
No, just comment, you know, any other colors you'd like to see. Shoot us a DM. We're always working on new colors. It is a bit of a process to change the color for the string. Just for example, for the Tennis Warehouse Orange, it took 3 production runs to get it right, because it does change the playability, the spin, the comfort, the static stiffness, dynamic stiffness. We're lab testing everything. We want to make sure it's a consistent response. And through that process too, we also create new strings. Like we have a Toro Flex now. We have a pentagonal shape as well. So working on a ton of different variations, and who knows what Sabrina will have next year.
Yeah.
We're always-
Maybe
we're
we'll
always-
have a new hybrid.
we're always cooking.
We'll see. In the meantime, use my discount code, SABS.
Before I let you go, Sabrina, I just was gonna mention that we did a podcast, I think it was like a couple years
Yeah.
ago now at this point, and you were one of the few people who have explained to me the double side of things in such a business sense, and it's been really fun to watch you over the years. And I feel like in the last year, your game has just not only gotten so much more dialed in, but your gear, and like as a player, you genuinely are so professional and you have all these great brands that you work with. So I don't know if you can talk a little bit about how you kind of process that, but I've always like admired that about you.
Oh, thank you. That's
Yeah.
so sweet. I'm a tennis player, but I also, like, for me, as like business ventures, I love working with brands, especially like brands that I use. So like, for example, I wrapped up a campaign with Shiseido sunscreen, and that was super fun. And I really enjoy the content creation, and that's, something like throughout college I really enjoyed. And I think it's different also, like being a college player and like having kind of a business sense in the back of your head,
Yeah.
or a calm sense in the back of my head, that there are other things besides tennis that I enjoy pursuing, and it also fills up my time when I'm on the road and I've got, free time. I can, whip up some content and work with brands that I enjoy working with, and that's been super fun for me, and I really enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad this relationship has developed, and we have now a brand new version of Toro at Tennis Warehouse. Anything else to add, Eric?
No, yeah, just give us feedback. Any kind of variations you like to see. We're always cooking, and a lot of Tourline is defined by the players, not just pro players, but customers. TW play testers. We love hearing what you guys think about the strings, what you like to see. And we're super hyper focused on strings. That's only 99% of our revenue is strings. We don't do overgrips, we don't do rackets, we don't do pickleball. All we do is strings. So we're focusing all resources, making sure that everyone has a string of choice for them, because I think it's very unique to every player. Everyone's playing on different surfaces, using different balls, playing at different court, different altitudes, using different rackets, different tension. So there's just so many variables that I don't think there's one string that fits everyone's game.
Yeah.
So that's why you see so many variations, and it is a bit of a challenge when you go on Tennis Warehouse and you look at the Tourline strings. We have so many selections, but the Tennis Warehouse also has a great support team. So reach out if you have trouble selecting your string, or DM us or DM Tennis Warehouse, and we're here to help.
Try my string. You'll love it.
Go check out Otoro White, Sabrina's own Otoro string at Tennis Warehouse. And be sure to follow Sabrina on tour. She also has an awesome Instagram. She's always creating content. Like I said, a beautiful aesthetic. So thanks for joining me, you guys.
Thank
It was
you.
super fun.
Thank you.